Namaskar friends, I welcome you all to this final video of 12 of week 9. In this video we'll talk about radicalization, ideological escalation and linguistic markers of extremist thought. We'll discuss the ideology leaves linguistic footprints long before the action. We'll explore an area where language becomes both a warning sign and a behavioral map, that is radicalization. Individuals do not usually leap into extremism suddenly. Their language transforms slowly. Their metaphors sharpen, their narratives narrow, their grievances intensify, their identity shifts. These linguistic changes become visible before behavioral escalation. Friends, understanding them is very crucial for preventing harm and supporting early intervention. Let's understand what is linguistic radicalization. Radicalization manifests through language. People begin expressing extreme interpretations of identity, morality, violence, and grievance. They adopt in group terminology, reject nuance, and embrace polarized us versus them frameworks. Language becomes a tool to justify hostility and aligned with extremist ideology. Friends, linguistic radicalization is the observable layer of psychological transformation. Let's understand the early markers of grievance narratives and loss of nuance. One of the earliest indicators of radicalization is grievance escalation. Individuals begin expressing dissatisfaction in more absolute terms. Their language shifts from "I'm upset about this issue" to "they are destroying us." Nuance disappears. Complexity collapses into binary thinking. Pronouns shift from I to we, signaling group identity formation. This stage is subtle yet very crucial. Linguists track how emotional language begins turning into ideological rigidity. Friends, extremist ideologies rely heavily on metaphor. It can be war metaphors, purity metaphors, religious metaphors, betrayal metaphors. When someone adopts these metaphors persistently, it reflects ideological internalization. Vocabulary may include dehumanizing in terms of terms, sacred justifications, or cosmic conflict imaginary. These linguistic choices reveal psychological alignment with extremist doctrine, even if behavior has not escalated yet. Individuals on the path of radicalization begin echoing narratives heard from leaders or groups. They adopt specific slogans, fixed rhetorical patterns, binary moral frameworks, and mythic or historic references. These repetitions reveal internalization. They show that the speaker no longer constructs opinions independently but channels ideological scripts. Linguistic mimicry becomes a reliable indicator of doctrinal absorption. Friends, let's understand isolation language. When individuals remove themselves from mainstream influence. Radicalization often includes psychological distancing. Language reflects these through ideation of in-group purity, rejection of mainstream narratives, and formation of echo chambers. Individuals may stop using shared social vocabulary and replace it with niche ideological jargon. This linguistic self isolation prepares them for behavioral isolation. Now, what are the escalation markers in extremist communication? Friends, as individuals deepen into extremism, linguistic markers intensify, neutral grievances become moral urgencies, anger becomes moral justification, metaphor become operational, and the speaker frames violence as inevitable, righteous, or necessary. Statements begin to include planning language or calls to action. These shifts represent high risk escalation. Let's understand with one example how online radicalization detected through discourse drift. In an anonymized case involving online extremism, a young man's post shifted from casual political commentary to adopting ideological slogans and violent metaphors. Analysis showed reduced linguistic diversity, increased pronoun collectivism, and escalating grievance framing. These markers helped authorities intervene early and redirect the individual toward de-radicalization programs. Friends, understanding the psychology behind extremist language is very important. Extremist language arises from psychological needs: identity, belonging, certainty, grievance resolution. Highly emotional phrasing reflects unmet needs or perceived injustice. Over time, language becomes a cognitive script reinforcing worldview rigidity. This script resists contradiction. A linguist interprets these scripts to understand the inner psychological movement. Friends, linguists contribute to safety by monitoring discourse drift online, identifying early ideological adoption, detecting planning language, evaluating group mimicry, and advising intervention teams on communicating strategies. Their work supports prevention by translating linguistic insight into actionable intelligence. Friends, when it comes to ethical boundaries in analyzing ideological speech, it is to be said without any doubt that ethics are crucial. Not all extreme speech predicts violence. Linguists must differentiate between rhetorical extremity and genuine radicalization trajectory. They must avoid labeling individuals prematurely or misinterpreting culturally rooted expressions. Ethical clarity ensures that analysis protects rights while promoting the safety. Friends, always remember the language speaks the mind, even at the edges of ideology. You now understand how language reflects guilt, trauma, deception, coercion, identity, threat, and ideology. These signals form the psychological backbone of forensic linguistics. We are completing week 9. In week 10, we transition into corpus linguistic for legal evidence, learning how large-scale language data strengthens investigative accuracy, and judicial reasoning. I'll catch you there again in week 10. Until then, stay tuned with the course. Thank you very much. Namaskar.